This certainly bears repeating, so I'm going to give this another shot because I am really digging King James these days. I'm not sure how that comes across to some of those elitist contemporary Message Bible NIV types, but the flowery vernacular really gets me right here. and I hear that King James was a homosexual. So that's beside the point, but it's a little bit of religious trivia for you. But I discovered in my quiet time and looking over that archaic language, Old English, as I read the King James Bible, there is a drawing out by Holy Ghost of some word kind of impacting, kind of hard-hitting that I don't know if I'd exactly get if I was reading the Message Bible or the NIV or the New Century Version, because Jonathan took for himself a little honey, and I got a little sweetness. I've been reading 1 Samuel, I think, and there's a little bit of sweetness going on there because Jonathan had a decree leveled on him by his father, who is typified by Saul, who is the religious institutional type, seminary trained, Bible study having kind of, just the whole moralistic party line of religiosity. And there's a decree passed down by Saul, Jonathan's father, because they were all biting their nails because the times were evil. They were biting their nails because they had Obama and ISIS and Ebola. Oh my! And back in the day, it was just the Philistines. However, they were messing their pants. And Saul made this decree. The institutional religious structure of the time handed down the decree. Nobody eat a thing, because we've got to get serious with our religiosity. We've got to get serious. We need to get back to being born again, so that we can take on these Philistines. Because we have a warfare at hand. Very sober days. It's very sober, babies. You better buck up and do the religious thing, because otherwise, Obama, Ebola, and ISIS, they're coming to get you. Well, babies, it is for freedom's sake that you're set free. Please let your mind be delivered from those fears that so easily beset you, because God is for you. Take a little honey, because Jonathan, the son of Saul, abided in a whole lot of bliss, and he didn't know about the king's decree. He didn't watch Fox News. He didn't tune into the Drudge Report. He didn't wring his hands or buy a gun. He dipped his staff in a little bit of honey in the same hour where Saul was saying, "Nobody eat a thing," and the eyes of Jonathan were opened, and he could see. So babies, receive revelation. Let your understanding become ascended, so that you may realize that the warfares are over. Babies, your warfares are over. And in the stupor of that bliss, all Jonathan knew was what belonged to him. And was he counted out of warfare? He kept peace in his heart. He had a whole lot of bliss. He took that honey. He had the spirit of revelation. He understood his heritage, his inheritance. He looked at that troop of the Philistines, and he said, "I am going to discover myself to these boys." Because that's what the King James word renders the warfare that Jonathan actually conducted on the Philistines as. It wasn't according to Saul's strategy. It wasn't according to the strategy of the institutional church. It was according to his eyes being opened by the spirit of wisdom and revelation, so that he could see his inheritance and see that there were some squatters on his inheritance that didn't belong there. There were some transgressors that didn't belong there. So he took himself a little honey. He said, I'm going to discover myself. He had a boy. He had an armor bearer who affirmed him and said, everything that's in your heart, Jonathan, whatever's in your heart, go do it. I'm with you. So the two of these took on an entire troop of Philistines and whooped ass. Not because they were ascribing to institutional principles, but because they saw, their eyes were open. They knew what belonged to them. Same word, he discovered himself. He discovered himself to the Philistines. Same word, which is Gala, G-A-L-A-H, Gala. He had a gala, which I believe rendered loosely into the English means something like party. He had a party on the Philistines tab. He had a party on the Philistines tab. And that word, Gala, is also rendered in the first use of it is actually Noah, in the days of Noah, when Noah witnessed the new creation after the destruction of the old world. He planted himself a little vineyard. He drank a little wine. He had every right to be drunk on the glory of the new creation. He sipped that new wine. He uncovered himself. Ham, his son, happened upon him and discovered his father's nakedness. That's the same word, Gala. First use, Gala. Discover in a place of vulnerability, of seeing weakness, of the place of your uncircumcision, the place of your vulnerability, the place where you've been touched by God, coming out into the open. The conflict between the circumcised and the uncircumcised, the innocent and the vulnerable, and the hard of heart, the transgressor and the rebellious. God's glory covers you. Jonathan had a little honey, opened his eyes, got his inheritance, and discovered himself to the Philistines. Noah got himself a little wine after the destruction of the old world. He saw the glory of the new creation, and he said, this is mine. I'm going to drink with every right to be drunk on the glory of the new creation. Gala, vulnerability, nakedness. Learn the new warfare, babies, because we are in the world. We're not of the world, and we don't war as the world wars. We discover ourselves to them. And they can't hold their ground. They can't hold their positions. They can't hold a candle against the light that emanates from that place where God has touched you.